to share with you this morning, just from my heart. I don't pretend to be a pastor. I'm not. I'm a mom of 3 wonderful children, and I really feel that God gave me something to share with the moms today. And if you're not a mom, you have a mom, or you had a mom, or maybe you've been like a mom to someone somewhere. So we just want to share with you today, and I just want to talk to you because we have children of all ages, and we have moms of all ages in the congregation this morning. And I've been through a lot of the stages. I've had 3 kids. I've had a newborn, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. I've had 2 in diapers at the same time. That's great. You can't wait till the first one gets out. Casey, you'll get there. And I've had the middle of the night feedings. Don't say that I miss those too much. The middle of the night sicknesses, we still have those, and my kids are all teenagers, and I just don't understand why they can never make it to the bathroom or the garbage can if it's beside the bed. My kids were great for never making it to those places, and that's where Kip came in because that was way too much for me. But anyway, I've been through the potty training. The long days when you long for adult conversation. I was a stay-at-home mom with my kids when they were younger till they got into school. And Kip would come home, and I'd be like, just going 100 mile an hour because I needed some adult conversation, someone that wasn't spitting on me or throwing something at me or telling me no or having a tantrum or whatever. So I longed for those adult conversations. I've had those days where I wanted to change my name. I did not want to be mom anymore. If I heard mom one more time, I was going to change my name. I've been there watching my first one get on the bus for the first time as the tears flowed down my cheeks. And I hope I'm not in trouble for this one. I've watched my last one get on the bus as the tears flowed down his cheeks. Levi was not too anxious to go to school. I've been there for the first skin knee, or if you're Jenna, the first of many broken bones. Jenna's had, I think, a cast on about every part of her limbs. So I've been there. I've been there teaching them to ride a bike. Maybe their dad more than me, but, I've been there. And you got to learn when to hold on and when to let go when they're riding that bike. I've been there, and this is really funny, for the first dog of many, the first cat, the first fish, the first hamster. Yes, the Penrods have had a lot of pets. None of them have stood the test of time. We are pet-free. We apparently are not very good pet parents. I don't know. We did okay with kids, but pets apparently we're not too good with. I've been to the first piano lesson, the first concert, the first soccer game, elementary school to middle school. And before you know it, moms of the toddlers, they're in high school. Time just goes so fast. You watch your little girls turn into young ladies. The first date, the first dance. Your heart broken because somebody broke theirs. Watching your young son grow taller than you. Levi's done that. He's outgrown me now, even with heels on. He's still taller than I am. Turning into a young man. The first high school graduation. Taking your first one to college. Crying the whole way there, even though it was only 30 minutes away. I cried the whole way there. She was driving in front of us the whole time. My dear, compassionate husband was saying, would you pull yourself together? This is going to be hard enough on her. You can't be crying. I'm like, what do you mean it's going to be hard enough on her? What about me? I've also been there watching my firstborn little girl walk down the aisle to marry the man of her dreams. Wondering where 19 years went and how she could be possibly old enough to be starting a family of her own. I've been there. I've cried. I've got another one ready to graduate and getting ready to go out onto the mission field this summer. So I've been in many stages, and the message today that I'm going to share with you is a message of encouragement. No matter what stage you're at with your kids, this message is for you. And even if your kids are grown, I believe God shared this message with me to share with you. There are places I haven't been with my kids, and I praise God for that. There are things I haven't had to go through with my kids, and I count my blessings every day that God has afforded me and kept my kids healthy and for the most part, except for Jen's broken bones, and and for just keeping my kids safe. Some of us have grown children. Some of us has teenagers. God bless us who have teenagers because they're wonderful to raise. Some of us have tweens and toddlers and even infants. Now, Kip alluded to the fact this morning about filling in when mom is sick. Have you guys ever seen those commercials on TV where it's usually like the mom has like a nasty cold and she's in bed and's got the NyQuil and the rest of the family's downstairs trying to function in the house? And things aren't functioning so well. Usually there's something boiling over on the stove or the dog's running around with the cat or whatever. So it's kind of crazy. Today I want to share with you that mom is not just a name, but it's a divine function. To mother is to be the bearer of life. Mom gives life to the family. You can take it the whole way back, and I'm not going to try to be all medical because I'm not, but the whole way to the umbilical cord. When the baby is inside you, the mother gives life to the child through the umbilical cord. But I want to talk more than just in a physical sense. I want to talk in a spiritual sense. John 15:5 says, "I am the vine and you are the branches." Here Jesus is telling us that he is the vine and he is the giver of life, and what flows from the Father flows through him to us to give us life. And I want to talk this morning, and I want to think about moms being the vines to our families. Please don't get me wrong. I am not being sacrilegious this morning. I'm not putting moms on the same level as Jesus. I'm just using some parallels here. I just want you guys to see that a little bit. I like to think as the mom as the vine and our children the branches that we're giving life to. Jesus set some great examples being the vine and giving us life, and I think we can follow that, and I think we can take from that this morning. If you look at some characteristics of the vine, a vine is hardy, it's powerful, it endures, it spreads, it covers. Think about those qualities of a mom. And I'm going to talk about each one of those just a little bit, and I promised Kip I would be short. So I'll do my best to do that. But I think about a vine being hardy, and I don't know about you, but I know that moms are hardy. I mean, who else can carry 2 kids, a diaper bag, a bag of groceries, and get it all in the car with a dog following behind? Moms are hardy. Hardy is defined as being capable of enduring fatigue, hardship, exposure, capable of enduring difficult situations. I want to encourage you, moms, this morning that you are hardy. Raising kids is the hardest job, the most rewarding job, the most fulfilling job, but you've got to be hardy to be able to succeed and to follow through with that. Are there any fatigued moms out there? Anybody out there tired? Casey's raising her hand. Casey, I've been there. You know, anybody out there facing any hardships? Anyone facing some difficult situations? But let me tell you, you are hardy. You are the vine to your family. Jesus was the vine. He was hardy when he was on earth. He endured some very difficult situations. He was ridiculed. He was beaten. He was spit upon. He was hung on a cross for you and I. And he came through all of those things. Moms, we all face hard times, whether it's in parenting, whether it's in our jobs. A lot of us work outside the home along with being a parent, and sometimes we have difficult situations with our jobs. Sometimes it's with our extended families. But we can endure those difficult situations. We're the vine to our families, and we bear life to our families. A vine is powerful. Moms, believe it or not, you have power. Call it mother's intuition. Ask my kids. Call it mother's intuition. Call it a gut feeling. I like to think of it as being tuned into our kids and being tuned into the Holy Spirit at the same time. But you can ask my kids. They say I freak them out sometimes. They're like, how did you know that? how did you know that? And I'm like, I just know, I just knew. And, we've all heard the sayings that moms have eyes in the back of their heads. We don't really, you turn around, there's no eyes back there, but somehow we've got that mom's intuition, and stay tuned into it. That's a powerful thing. Knowing where your kids are, what they're doing. I drive my kids nuts. I don't know how my parents did it without cell phones. I don't know about you, but I love cell phones. I love them because I know where my kids are all the time. Now, they don't always pick up when I call. I could track you guys all on your phones. I haven't done that, though. But, moms have power in being the mom and being the one that brings life. Powerful is defined as having great power, prestige, or influence, leading to many or important decisions or deductions. Think about that as a mom. What is our job as a mom? What do we do? I think that definition says it all. Leading our children to many or important decisions, having great influence on them, having the power to discipline them when necessary. My mom used to have this saying growing up, and when I was a child, I never understood it. I wish she'd take herself up on it every time she said it. She'd say, it would be a lot easier just to let you go and not discipline you and not correct you. It would be much easier. It would make my life easier if I just let you go, but I can't do that because I have a responsibility. And as a child, I used to think, go ahead, let me go. Don't correct me. I'm all about that. I'm okay with that. As a mom, I say all the time, now I open my mouth and my mother falls out because I'm saying the same things to my kids. It'd be a lot easier, Jenna, not to give you any boundaries or not to correct you or not to teach you, the things that you need to know. It'd be a lot easier to let you go. But the result of that at the end is usually not too much of a pretty picture. But moms, we're powerful. We have great influence on our kids. Kip always jokes around with our kids. He's got a parenting sense of humor, and he says he loves being a parent because it's such a power trip. Because I'm the dad. I said so. But, and don't get me wrong. I don't want you to take power used in a wrong way can be harmful. But when I'm talking about powerful here, I am talking about having that influence and knowing your kids. I have 3 children who are very, very different. They are not alike in many things. They have different personalities. Different things make them tick. Different things make them happy. And as a parent, you have to be tuned into that. You can't treat all 3 kids exactly the same because they're not the same person. So knowing our kids, I think that is so important. And I encourage you, moms, to be powerful in your families. Be an influence. Lead your children, teenagers, even adult children in the right direction. It also says that a vine endures. Endures, defined, says carry on through despite hardships, to bear with tolerance, long-suffering, patient. How many know that it takes a very patient person to be a parent? How many times have you said no? I've had, Alyssa's 20. So for 20 years, I've been saying no. I've said it a lot of times, but it takes patience. It takes patience to get up in the middle of the night feedings. It takes patience to potty train. It takes patience to teach them to read. It takes patience to teach them to walk. It takes patience to teach them to talk. A mom endures. A mom can endure. I often think back to when my kids were little and they were toddlers, and we had 3 under the age of 5, so we've always had a circus going on. And it would amaze me, and I look at other moms. You can have a kid spit up on your shoulder, and you just keep going. That doesn't bother you. You have one screaming in the grocery store, and you just keep going. My sisters used to tease me and say, "Do you just tune your kids out? Because they're all over, and you're not even doesn't even bother you." And I'm like, well, that's just how they are. It takes time. You have to endure. How How many have ever endured the terrible twos? For me, it wasn't terrible twos. Kip and I joke about this. Ours was the terrible threes. When ours turned 3, it was like something just completely changed in them. But we've endured the terrible twos. You endured the sleepless nights, you know. How about the long suffering with teenage attitudes? Anybody have a teenager out there that has an attitude once in a while? If you don't tell me, because I don't want to know that there's those kind out there, because I don't have those. I have good kids, but all teenagers have attitudes. Teaching our kids to clean their rooms. How many has conquered that one? Nobody out there has conquered having their teenagers clean their rooms. I'll tell on Levi again. I probably owe him after this. Levi used to be the neatest child. Oh, he left. He's not back there. Good. I won't be in trouble. He used to be the neatest kid. I mean, that child was so self-disciplined. I won't even take credit for it. He was so self-disciplined. The child would get up an hour before he needed to in the morning before school so that he could practice his piano, so that he could make his bed and clean his room. Everything just had to have its place. He could not function well if everything didn't have his place. And then he turned 13. I don't know what happens when you add the teen onto the end of the age, but something happened when he turned 13, and now he'll clean his room before he goes to bed, but he's the only one that sees it. By the time he gets up the next morning, it's exploded again, and I never see a clean room. So I don't know what happened with that. I've lost the battle with that with Levi, but it takes a mom indoors. Even just staying home with your kids, if you're working outside the home and you have your kids, it's endurance. You have to get through. I like the next one. It says that a vine spreads. To find spreads, it says to open to a fuller extent or to stretch. I like to think that we stretch our kids, to open them to their fullest potential, so to speak, to broaden their horizons. We're constantly teaching our children. We as moms ourselves get stretched sometimes. We're constantly learning and we're constantly teaching. Our children, moms know this out there, our children are learning from us when you don't think they're watching. Know that. I can't tell you, when my kids were little, and even much more now as teenagers, is my kids aren't afraid to call me on something. I can't remember, I think it was Levi or Jen, I don't remember. They were little. I mean, they were like 4 or 5 years old. They were the only one in the car. I went to go pull into a parking space, and somebody zipped right in and took that really good princess parking spot from me. And I just think I don't even remember what I called the person. I think a jerk or something like that. And my child immediately said, "Mommy, why did you call that person a jerk?" And I was like, I don't know. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. That was really bad. Your kids are watching you. It's been said that we spread our children's wings. Sometimes we have to teach our children to take risks and get out of their comfort zones so that they can learn and they can grow. Let me tell you something. This morning, I am so out of my comfort zone, you have no idea how out of my comfort zone I am being up here this morning. I joke with the worship team, I don't like to be up front. I'm not an up front person. I said, it's only through God that I can get up and lead worship on Sunday mornings. And then if there was a wall right here where you couldn't see me, that would even be better because I don't like to be in front of people. But sometimes God gets us out of our comfort zone. Sometimes we have to teach our children to get out of our comfort zones. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that you want your children to be out and doing dangerous things. I'm just saying sometimes kids have to learn and they have to be stretched and they have to grow to become their full potential. They have to spread. They can't stay in the same place that they always are. And the last definition I'm going to give you this morning, and I truly think this one really defines moms more than any of the others, is that a vine covers. When you define the word cover, it says to place something upon or over so as to protect or to conceal, to overlay or spread with something. Moms, I know moms out there. Moms cover. I know I do. I don't know a mom out there that doesn't cover your kids. I hope, first and foremost, you're covering your kids in prayer. It is so important to pray for our kids. It is so important that our kids know that mom's got their back and that they're praying for them. We've got to cover our kids in prayer. We got to get on our knees, and we got to ask God to help us, guide us through this life with our children. I don't know about you, but when I had my first child, it did not come with an instruction book. It didn't tell me how to do it, how to handle attitudes. I mean, there's a lot of parenting books out there, don't get me wrong, but when Alyssa was born and we brought that 9-pound, 9-ounce baby girl home from the hospital, she didn't come with a book. It didn't tell me how to be a mom, how to be a godly mom, how to be a good mom. It didn't tell me those things. But we've got to cover them because this world around us is getting worse and worse and worse. The things that my teenagers, that my kids have had to deal with in high school, I would have never dreamed in a million years they would have to deal with that. It wasn't like that when I was in high school. And I'm not that old. Yes, it was 3 years ago. But it wasn't that long ago. But the things that our kids deal with now on a daily basis, and not just from them, the way the world is changing around us, and things that used to be wrong in the world's eyes are no longer wrong in the world's eyes. And our kids are being pounded with that constantly. They're being berated with that. And now more than ever, we've got to cover our kids. And we cover to protect. How many have ever heard this saying that they saw the mama bear and her claws were coming out because someone was coming to get that cub or someone was coming against their child? We are to protect our kids. That means when they're little and they go to touch the hot stove and we tell them, no, that's going to hurt you. Or we put the gate up so they don't fall down the stairs because we don't want them to get hurt. Or when we won't let them go outside the yard because we don't know where they'll be. They just need to stay in the backyard. Or that first time that they want to go to a friend's house, but we don't know the parents, so we're not comfortable. We want to protect them because we don't want anything to happen to them. We've got to cover and protect our kids. We always want to make sure that we're checking for the danger out there. And danger doesn't always mean a person. Danger could be a television show or the music they're listening to or the movies they're watching or the kids that they're hanging out with or the books or the magazines that they're reading. We're always protecting them from trying to chase away the bad things. And our kids don't always understand it. And I always tell my kids, someday when you have a child of your own, you'll get it. Because when I was your age, I didn't get it either. I used to say, Mom, let me go. If it's easier, hey, let's go with that. Let's let me go. But I know now as an adult, and because I have children of my own, that it was for my protection. My mom was covering me. A vine is hardy. It's powerful. It endures. It spreads.